What is up, sports fans, and welcome back to another episode of Pez's Picks. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by the man with the picks himself. Pez, what's going on, man?
Midsummer, Jeff. We're now in press time for Major League Baseball. It's football season, though, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we're going to be transitioning, thank God, to the greatest American sport ever created and the greatest gambling sport ever created. And the drama's hot and heavy already. I see the Steelers' nemesis, the Bengals, Hendrick not reporting.
No?
Couldn't be better news. I mean, the possibly the AFC version of the Dallas Cowboys will be the Cincinnati Bengals, and that's good news for the Steelers. It's good news for our Super Bowl pick for them and our over pick for the Steelers. I love it, Jeff. I love it.
Well, let's also not forget the Shamar Stewart situation with the Bengals, their first-round pick, who is reportedly back at Texas A&M training with the team and considering going back to college in 2026. And that's a very detailed and orchestrated route that he would have to take. The Bengals would still have his rights if he chose to go back to college and enter the draft after next season, but it's a mess there in Cincinnati.
Has it ever happened? I've never even heard of that, right? I mean, I don't even know.
Not in the modern era of the NFL has anyone gone back to
Woo,
school, but it is possible.
what a burn. What a burn. He's got Ari Gold from Entourage representing him, I guess. They're just going to blow the whole thing up, Jeff. I love it. As you know, I find Joe Burrow to be a douche. So, at the end of the day, this is great news for Pez's Picks and for you and Steelers, and I couldn't ask for more.
All right, so let's start the show off with the biggest event of the past weekend, and that was the Open Championship, or as some of us call it, the British Open. It is a wrap. Scotty Scheffler at plus 450 odds. He wins. He was my odds-on favorite to win, and I got to be honest, I was surprised that a lot of people were kind of, as the young kids today will say, fading a pick of Scotty Scheffler because they didn't think he could play that style of golf over there in the link style of golf. I was proven it was the Scottish Open the week prior when Scotty Scheffler finished in the top 10 and he played well. I was like, man, he's got some game that he can definitely change some things up. He's not like your typical American. We're just going to pound the ball. I thought it was a great tournament, and there was a little bit of intrigue on Sunday. What was your takeaway from the Open?
And I think the fading came from he's never before this been better than seventh or eighth, I think. And
Right.
his game, I'm not quite sure that tournament captured classic links. I mean, Saturday and Sunday played like a PGA tournament. It was sunny. The
Yeah.
greens were slow. They were receptive. And, at the end of the day, though, he won. He putted better than anybody in the world over this weekend. And if that's the case, and we put this out there on Instagram, he might win 20 majors. I don't know if this was an anomaly and they talked about on the coverage, he went from 121st putter a couple years ago to like 20th. He's got a new putting coach, a guy that was on the grounds, of course. And I guess this guy's some guru. If he can putt like that, I don't know how any of these guys are going to beat him. The live guys are toast, Jeff. I mean, at the end of the day, these guys are done. They're and even Shambo melting down, Sergio breaking drivers. They don't look at all engaged. And the PGA stars right now, we're not seeing too much consistency. When you have a guy who from Jersey I never heard of, Jeff Gotterup,
Yeah, Chris
a guy that
Goddard.
wins,
Yep.
looks great, right? But there's still 5, 6 shots worse than Scotty Scheffler, a guy that matched to the day Tiger Woods' fourth major coming after his first major. I think it was 1,197 days or something like that. So
Yep.
a little bit, a few years beyond Jack and Tiger, 4 or 5 years ahead of him in that fourth major. Can you win more majors in your 30s than Scott and than Jack and Tiger? Possibly, but it was boring, right? And I remember Tiger Woods doing this in British Opens. Hit the fairway, middle of the green, two-putt, or you're going to hit a couple birdies. And then there's no bogey coming into play. It looked easy, right? Everybody else was struggling. I think Portrush let us down a little bit, though. The weather, the course, the greens were kind of easy. And, when Phil Mickelson can let a course up at 55 and having, his mental meltdown, I think that tells us a little something. But Scotty, I don't know. I'm going to say he's the third best golfer I've ever seen. Jack, Tiger, and Scotty right now. I've never seen anybody dominate like this. Even Rory, has flashes this, but this kid does it every week. And, hugging the baby, Jeff. I know I bashed him last week for crying. I was getting a little teary-eyed, Jeff. I love this guy now. I'm reversing. Get the Ryder Cup going. Let him cry all day, Jeff. A great finish. And, when we talk about the money, that's something I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday. These guys don't get paid a lot. Scotty Scheffler got $3 million. We're seeing $70 million a year contracts plus in the NBA. NFL's walking in that direction. These guys are just as rare as those dudes. I think they deserve more money. I think, to win a tournament like that, $10 million doesn't sound like like an unfair thing when you're the best in the world at something. And, I think maybe that's going to be the solution with this NFL guy taking over the PGA. Maybe we get more money, maybe less marquee tournaments, bigger money, and maybe have play-ins then and some sort of playoff or what have you. But a great tournament. Great to watch. We talked about anytime you get up at 7 in the morning, you can blow till 10 a.m. watching live sports is fantastic. A great weekend, Jeff. But it was boring, right? Sunday was boring. I mean,
it was boring until number 8. Number 8 is when Scotty went into the fairway bunker, and he got a little hubris, a little bit of pride, and he, instead of just blasting it out into the fairway and trying to get up and down for par, bogey at worst, he caught the lip. It comes back out into the bunker, and he double bogeys. He had a 5-shot lead at that point. And now all of a sudden that evaporated, got her up. Rory was making a charge at the time. Fitzpatrick was still hanging around. It got tight. And then eventually, obviously, he outlasted the field. Outside of that, I would say, yeah, I get it. It was boring, but don't feel bad for Scotty Scheffler. He just entered the $90 million in career earnings threshold, which is up there with, I think, Tiger has like 120. I think Phil's up there, Rory's up there, and now he enters that echelon of golfers who have eclipsed $90 million in career earnings. That's not what is getting paid from Rolex or Nike or sponsorship deals. That's just earnings. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, Tiger's only at 120. They weren't getting paid that much when Tiger was winning in the late 90s, early 2000s. The purses have gotten much larger. And Scotty winning, last year he won the FedEx Cup playoffs. That was a $10 million. It's incredible. But what's weird, how about some signature events the payout is more than a major? That's stupid to me.
Well, and I think with the British, it's, they're deciding this money. So maybe got paid in pounds, Jeff. Maybe in pounds, this is more money. I've held these pounds. They don't weigh a pound. I don't know where this comes from, but I think there needs to be a little more organization and maybe play more tournaments like this, right? Maybe a little bit. Maybe the 4 majors can be duplicated in a way that, kind of has this fanfare, not just the money, but maybe a world event. I don't know. They need to figure something out because this guy is hands down 5-6 shots better than anybody in the world right now. And these are the best guys in the world. And one thing I love about him, and Tiger too, we talked about this last week, I don't think he needs somebody to push him to be this good. And I think he's going to go out there, he's going to play his game, and he's going to dominate. And at the end of the day, that's what he's looking for. It's not the money for him. It's not the trophies. He's a killer. To be this good at something, you got to be a killer. You can't be some nice guy. You can't be yucking it up on the camera. I was watching this. Shambo yucking it up again. The greatest Chinese golfer ever, who I like this guy, Haotong Li, yucking it up, right? He's yucking it up on the tee. You're not going to beat Tiger. You're not going to beat these guys doing that. And I like it at the end of the day. That's why I like Rodgers this year. Aaron Rodgers not yucking it up with the Steelers. Jalen Hurts, he's not yucking it up. They're pissed. These are guys that have won Super Bowls that are still pissed off because people are questioning them. They're going to camp. They're working. And that in terms of a betting angle, you don't want to bet some guy that's yucking it up or acting like a jackass during the game or before the game. You want people that are driven and focused. And that Pez's picks, that is something that is glaring in our algorithm. We don't, we're pissed off. We didn't bet Paul Skeens last night, Jeff. I kind of talked myself out of that one. That guy is out there firing balls. The one thing that I don't like, with the drama, talking about trades and stuff, that can get in the young guy's head. But what sucks though is golf. Now we got the Ryder Cup. Is this end of the year championship exciting? I don't know. Maybe, but I wish there was another major like we used to have at the end of August or something. That'd be a great finish.
And a little bit more space. I've talked about that on my Fairways and Dreams podcast would be great. But let me say this last thing before golf. First, the United States. Boy, did they show out in the Open Championship. 9 out of the top 15 were American golfers. And you had some names you hadn't seen up there in the top 15 in a long time. Ricky Fowler with a 65 on Sunday to get into the top 15.
Love him.
Harmon's there. And then you look at just the dominance by the American golfers the last few years and the amount of majors. This year, the only non-American to win a major was Rory at Augusta. And you look at last year, a sweep of American majors. It's amazing. Now, is that going to equate to Ryder Cup success? I don't know, but I will say this: I don't know if you've seen the updated Ryder Cup standings. Captain Keegan is now 10th in the Ryder Cup standings. And
Guy played great, Jeff. He played great. I mean, he was contending. Until Sunday, I don't think anybody was really contended by that. Contending. I think a guy like Lucas Glover, if I'm captain, I'm putting that guy on my team. That's a badass guy. He never yucks it up, right? That guy, fairways, he's out there to win. I'm a little concerned, though, Jeff. These Europeans, I don't know. There's a lot of them playing well. Justin Rose playing well. Lowry playing well. They come together a little bit better as a team than the American guys. Like Tiger, to be an individual winner like Tiger and Scheffler, like I discussed, does not always equate to being a good team player. So, yeah, I'm a little concerned still. It's something we're going to have to analyze here. If we lose in New York, Jeff, that's going to be a crushing blow. Crushing. And I think Keegan's got to play. This guy's got to play. I mean, let's stop the drama. He did say Shambo's on the team. I guess that's good.
Hell yes, it's good. The captain, you want DeChambeau on the team.
I hope, Jeff. But that course you'd think would fit his game. I could see him bombing 350 yards, drives into the rough and chopping things out all day though. So I don't know. I like Harmon. I like some of these dudes, but Koepka shouldn't be there. DJ gone. Patrick Reed gone. Some of these dudes that were great Ryder Cuppers are gone, and probably what should be the peak of their careers, and I wonder how much that's going to hurt us. We'll see.
We'll talk about that for sure as we get geared up. If you want more golf news or notes, you can check out my Fairways and Dreams podcast.
Love it. Love that podcast.
Pez was on there last Thursday for sure. Let's talk NFL. By Wednesday of this week, when this actually airs, all NFL teams will be at training camp in some semblance. And veterans, rookies, doesn't matter. All 32 teams will be reported. And Pez, you have started to dive into futures now on the NFC. You've wrapped up the AFC. You can check those out on social media at Pez's Picks on Instagram and Twitter. What are you thinking about the NFC?
We were talking right when we got on camp, Jeff. The Dallas Cowboys, in my opinion, are already melting down. The worst GM in the NFL, and the worst owner in the NFL, Jerry Jones, running his mouth. Who goes on camera to start camp and badmouths his best players? Right? What is up with this guy? Micah not signed. I don't even think they're talking. And the books agree with us. To take the total right now, win total for them is 7.5. To take the under, you're getting plus money. That tells us Vegas is saying they're not getting the 7.5, right? They're saying plus 105. We don't think that they're going to get there. 7-8 wins is probably what we're looking at. I know Dak, threw to your ex guy yesterday, hit some bomb and preseason rough touch. We're not taking them because the shirt I'm wearing, the Philadelphia Eagles. I hate that team, Jeff, and I don't want to get involved in hate-based bets. I think Dak's a fraud. 2-5 career playoffs. Selfish dude. They got a selfish locker room, and they have an unhappy locker room. I can't even. I don't even remember the coach's name. There's a Rolodex of coaches in that team. So the NFC, I think there's maybe 3 or 4 good teams, and Dallas is definitely not one of them right now. Definitely not.
George Pickens is down there, and he's combustible. I feel like that whole situation is combustible down there in Dallas with Jerry Jones running his mouth, and it's going to be interesting to see. You're starting in the NFC East, correct?
We are, and just to be clear, we'll put out a video and we'll discuss the Philadelphia Eagles. But to be fair, we're not gonna place money on them. I mean, we're taking them in Week 1 against the Cockroaches. I think we're laying 7 or 7.5. We put it out a couple months ago, but their line currently is 10.5. As a responsible gambler, when you have kind of fanboy syndrome about a team, that kind of can get in your head a little bit. I do have questions about the defense. We lost a ton of guys. We're returning almost every starter for the offense. So that, to me, is great. The offensive coordinator is a guy that's kind of been assistant head coach. I don't think that's going to change. But 4 different OCs in the last 5 years, that's a little trouble, and that's a little bit unfair to Jalen. And the defense, we lost a ton. We lost to the guys in the secondary, defensive line. I think I think we've done some moves that could replace them, but we got a lot of young guys. So question marks on the defense is always something you should shy away from investing money. 10.5 being the total, I think they get there. I think we're looking at an 11 to 13 team win, but at the end of the day, when you have a 30-year-old running back, you got, aside from the Kansas City Chiefs and the New England Patriots, most Super Bowl winners tend to have a little bit of a step back next year. So I still think they are the best NFC team, but we're not going to invest money on them. Giants are the next team we're going to really dive in. Currently, 5.5 is their total. Now, that always looks like a sucker play, Jeff. Caution people when you're betting totals. 5.5, you go 17 games. Of course, they go like 6-11. We're going to have to really look at that, look at the schedule. I think part of that base is based on, can they beat the Cockroaches once? Could they beat the Eagles once? Could they beat the Redskins once? And if you split in your division, maybe with two teams, we're already at 2-3 wins. So we'll definitely take a look at that today or tomorrow. That team's not great, but there are some talented guys that they do get paid. And Washington's another team I have question marks about, Jeff. We'll be putting that out this week. 9.5 is their total. So, I don't know how people fall for this every year. Rookie quarterbacks that do great never do great in the second year. I can't think of a second-year quarterback that had a great rookie season that was better the next year. And the books kind of agree with this. The line right now is 9.5. Can he repeat what he did last year? Perhaps, but 9.5 tells me that's a 500 team. So at the end of the day, the Birds by 2-3 games, by 6-7 games, and some of these guys, that's a division champion. And that's something maybe to take a look at, invest some money on them winning the division. But I have questions about Washington. They're having contract issues with some of their dudes. A lot of pressure on the second-year quarterback and a lot of tape out there. So everybody has been watching Jaden Daniels' tape since the last game that they played. And, they're going to find something. Everybody's got a weakness, right? So I think we could see a little bit of a fallback from Washington, and that's something we'll be putting out this week and getting into the next couple of divisions in that NFC.
Couple of notes from what you just said. First and foremost, in 2005, Ben Roethlisberger's second year, he won a Super Bowl. That was after going 15-1.
Were his numbers better, though?
Statistically was probably plateaued, or same, if not a little bit worse.
Okay.
He was on a team that was very run-heavy, but he did win a Super Bowl in his second year. Let's keep that in mind.
The Bucks, the Jerome Bettis.
Yes, and Deuce Staley was actually on that team as well in 2004, his rookie year when they went 15-1. He was not on the team in 2005. That was when they transitioned to Fast Willie Parker. I actually think he was, but he was injured. But nonetheless, I also want to bring up with the Giants, a lot of that's going to be about the quarterback. Is Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston going to be the quarterback? Or are they going to go to the rookie Jackson Dart earlier? How does that play into this? Brian Daboll's on the hot seat. That's a tough pick. That is a really difficult pick. At 5, you said 5.5 is their line?
5.5, and I think Daboll is a little bit of a better coach than we saw. I think last year they probably made the right moves for the future. I don't think Saquon does what he did in Philadelphia if he stays in New York. That team wasn't capable of doing that. So I don't think they start Dart. I think that would be a moronic decision. I think it's going to be Wilson. And I think Russell Wilson can do what he did with Pittsburgh. He can win a handful of games. I mean, the guy still has an arm. He knows the game. He's not going to turn the ball over, like a rookie quarterback would. And they've got a solid wide receiver core. And, can the defense kind of match that a little bit? We'll wait and see. But, that GM and Daboll, they're on the hot seat. I mean, anybody that goes on that I don't even know who the team is this year, Joe. Who's the HBO team we're seeing preseason with Hard Knocks? I don't even know. Whoever it is, you're in trouble, right? I mean, this is something that I cannot believe the league makes teams do. Has there been a team that was on Hard Knocks that I'm looking it up right now, Joe? But has there been a team that's been on Hard Knocks that had a good season? I don't know. I mean, I can't think of one. And this year we're looking at, I believe, the Cleveland Browns.
You'd have to go all the way back to the Ravens did it in the early 2000s. And I think they had a good year. I don't think they won the Super Bowl. I don't think they were doing Hard Knocks in 2001 when they won their first Super Bowl. But that's probably how far back you'd have to go.
I believe it's the Buffalo Bills, Jeff. And that might affect our plays a little bit here. That's I don't know. I don't know if I like that.
I'm curious. The next talking point here you wanted to talk about is a sport that is its own entity in a lot of ways. We're talking about college football. You wanted to touch on the college futures, but we've talked about this ad nauseum all last year with the transfer portal, with NIL money, with players just completely not boycotting, but removing themselves from a roster, whether it's due to them leaving the school, whether it's them going into the draft, coaches leaving. It's a wild west in college football and college sports in general. What do you think about future plays in college?
Well, it's something that I caution people not to do too much. All the points that you just explained make it a very unpredictable thing. I think it's something that we can invest in, but you're going to need returning quarterbacks. You're going to need returning coaches. A team that we're going to be announcing today or tomorrow that we bet a lot last year, and some of them didn't work out, but Matt Rule, Nebraska Cornhuskers, year three coaches that are decent coaches tend to have their best year. You've got 3 years of guys in your place, know your system. A quarterback that we saw flashes last year in Dylan Raiola, a guy whose dad played in the NFL, a guy who had a lot of pedigree. Some games he was fantastic. I know we took him in a game, I think it was at Indiana, where he threw 5 picks, but a guy that put up 2,800 yards, 13 TDs to 11 picks, a true freshman this year coming back. Big dude, 6'3", 230, 240. I like them right now. 7.5 is their line. We're going to be taking the over. I think 8 or 9 wins is a legitimate prospect for Nebraska. And that's, when you're talking about the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Floridas, the bigger programs, I think it's a little bit tougher to bet these because their schedules are going to be a little bit harder and the pressure is going to be a little bit harder. But I like Nebraska over 7.5. We're going to put out a handful of these picks going forward. But like you said, a lot of this is based on your transfer portal, where we get ratings on who had a good transfer portal. But at the end of the day, you don't know till these guys get out there, right? You're betting on guys that were reserves or we didn't know going to a new team and starring. So currently, Nebraska's our first and only pick. Cornhuskers over 7.5, and I think at the end of the day, that's a legitimate and good investment.
It's like you said, you have to find those programs that have the coach. It's been there. It's been established. They have a quarterback. Again, not a new quarterback, a quarterback that's at least had a year in the system. It's going to be difficult. We'll be talking about college football futures as we get closer to the college football season. Major League Baseball, how have your plays been so far?
Well, we're 1-1 on the week, Jeff. We're tiptoeing back into this. It's something I'm going to caution baseball gamblers. Second half of the season is when you make your money. It's when you can get really burned as well. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to know who's eliminated from the playoffs. We're going to know who's hanging it up. As we talked about last week, you brought up, teams start shutting stars down. Skeens did not get shut down last night. That guy was throwing heat, beat the best team in Major League Baseball, Detroit Tigers. But in the next couple of weeks is when you really make your money. It's really when you make your investments. Having said that, we're still having trouble finding consistency this year. I'm going to say it's the hardest baseball gambling year we've seen in many, many years. Detroit starting out, coming out of the All-Star break looking like crap. Phillies are, a below 500 team since June. Yankees, Red Sox. I mean, all of a sudden Toronto and Milwaukee are on these winning streaks. So at the second half of the season, things start to even out, and we're going to be looking for that and betting against teams that are hanging it up. Players know when they're not making the playoffs, their motivation, their energy drops. We saw it with Seattle last year. Their hitting goes down. Pitchers stop throwing as much gas. I don't want to hurt the arm for the next season. And that is something I caution people. And not betting streaks, Jeff. We try not to do that. Chasing streaks in Major League Baseball is like chasing a flush when you're playing poker. You're betting on something that isn't real. A team that wins 5, 6, 7, even 10 games in a row does not equate that they're going to win the next game. Sometimes they do. But a team that loses 5 or 6 doesn't equate to them they're going to have to lose the next one. And that's something I caution people to stay away from too. Base it on the numbers, base it on the pitching and performance of the hitting on that team. And that's what we're looking at going forward. And less plays, but more value plays is what we're looking for.
All right. So baseball is going to rage on, and like I said, football is here, and that is our bread and butter. Pez, you do a great job of trying to touch on all sports, but let's be honest, football is your wheelhouse, is it not?
Well, I think it should be everybody's, Jeff. We're not getting gambling. Every day I'm seeing more NBA betting scandals, right? I mean, these guys, what is going on in that league? And baseball too, right? So that it's why we stay away from some of these other sports. Apparently, Jeff, cricket is the most rigged sport out there, so we're never going to be placing a bet on cricket, tennis as well. So I can't wait for the NFL season to start. I believe we're probably about what 40 days away from game one, something like that. And that preseason we will not be betting on, Jeff. I think that's the dumbest investment you can make as a gambler. Currently, the Philadelphia Eagles Thursday, September 4th, laying 7 to the Cockroaches. When we look at who the public's betting, it appears the public's jumping on Dallas. That opened at 7.5, and they're betting them down. We couldn't be happier with that, Jeff. But the question is, who will ring the Liberty Bell to open the season, Jeff? The greatest opening ever was Rocky Balboa ringing that bell. I don't remember how many years ago that was, but that was the greatest ever. I remember vividly. My dog had some sort of wound. I had to take him to the vet hours before the game, and the guy was looking at me because you look antsy. I'm like, it's game one of the Eagles. He goes, this foot's going to be fine. We're going to get you out there. So we got back just in time to see Rocky Balboa. Are we going to get a Kelsey appearance? I don't know. Are we going to get, But by the way, the Kelsey brothers were in my town this week, Jeff, and we kept it quietly. They're taking over the South Jersey Shore area, and I couldn't be happier. Eagles fever could not be bigger in Sea Isle City, where I dwell here down by Cape May, New Jersey. And I can't wait. I'm going to say a Kelsey will be ringing that bell, Jeff. Maybe we'll look on betting on that one.
All right. Now, I do want to ask, this is before we finish up with some golf talk to finish up the upcoming tournament. You've seen this. Everyone that's a sports fan has seen this, where they show a batter in baseball, and they show the grid. You have 3 panels, top to bottom, and the red is like their hot spot. Like, do not pitch this person inside. Outside, maybe high and away. That might be blue. That might be their cold spot. If you were to say, obviously, we just talked about football being your sweet spot. That would be your red. Football is your red. What would be the sports betting that you're like, I'm more of like, that's the blue. It's not my wheelhouse.
Baseball and regular season NBA are not the best investments. You're not going to get guaranteed performance and effort when you have 80 some games and 162 game seasons. Those are very different. Baseball is probably the most difficult thing to bet. You're betting on starting pitching, relief pitching, closing pitching, hitting. I mean, there's a ton of variables. And we talk about in NFL, it's much simpler. I say it all the time. You're betting on the quarterback and quarterback performance. I don't care anything else about an NFL team. If your quarterback throws multiple picks, you are not covering that spread. Odds are you have a less than 10% chance of winning that game. So starting with the quarterback, basing it on performance, defense, and the caliber of the defense is much easier than betting. Some of these major league games, you might have 8 to 10 pitchers, so you don't even know who's playing. And in the NBA, you don't know who's gambling against themselves, Jeff. I mean, it is ridiculous, right? I wish we had more insider trading. I wish we were the Gordon Gekko of Major League Baseball. And these guys are calling me up and going, pitch number 21, inning 3 is going to be a ball. And then we're going to load up on that. But at the end of the day, football, the most consistent game. I love everything about how they handle that league. And, 17 games, you got to perform. I mean, when Micah Parsons isn't getting offered a contract, a guy who I don't love, Jeff, but clearly a great player and a great athlete with great numbers, when he's not getting offered a deal, you see McLaurin in Washington, you see Henderson in Cincinnati, they're holding out on these guys. That means somebody is behind you fighting for your job. You got to play your ass off every play because they're scrutinizing every play. I don't think that's the case in the NBA and Major League Baseball. Right? You can take off half the season and stick in those leagues. You cannot in the NFL.
One of your blue spots would be golf betting. We'll put it that way.
Golf betting's stupid, Jeff. Golf betting.
Hey, hold on. I'm pretty good at it. All right, calm yourself down.
We're just, that's a slot machine at the casino. Do I put 20 in a machine when I want to punch it? Sure, but at the end of the day, you're betting 1 out of 160 guys. I caution the validity of betting a lot of golf as well. But it's a fun thing. It's a fun thing to do. I don't invest a lot of money in it, though, Jeff. We talk about it anytime we put a pick out. Don't bet the pig slip on that guy. And that kind of like horse betting. It's the same thing.
I get it. And this weekend, we'll finish up the show talking 3M Open. The signature events are over. They usually always had a signature event right after a major. For some reason, the PGA Tour, in their infinite stupidity, didn't have a signature event after the Open Championship, probably because of traveling overseas. And so here we go up to Minnesota, the 3M Open. Sam Burns is the odds-on favorite at plus 1,800. So is Chris Goddard. Man, talk about your New Jersey native. His dad's a member of Pine Valley, by the way. So that tells you he went to Rutgers. To tell you a little bit about this kid. Maverick McNeely. Hold on, let me finish. Maverick McNeely plus 2,000. Wyndham Clark, plus 2,500 to round out the top 5. What do you think about this?
I'm a Rutgers grad as well. I went to graduate school there, Jeff. And Pine Valley, I grew up about 10 minutes away. I've never seen it, but I did see some armed guards keep me out a couple of times. I think this week is going to be a repeat of Tahoe. I don't know if you caught it last week, Jeff. I've skied in Lake Tahoe many times. It's probably the most magical place in the United States. And we saw the JV League going on, and that kind of is what we're looking at here. My man Joel Damon, Jeff. I thought this guy was contended until Sunday, fired his caddy. I mean, that's probably the biggest golf story aside from, the actual varsity team in golfing. This is the time of the season I kind of enjoy. It's kind of relegation time, like in Premier League, where guys are fighting to be in this top 100 now. To be top 100 in the world keeps you on the tour. Used to be 125. And we got some guys trying to get in the top 50 to get in these signature tournaments. So this week, I think we have to like our Jersey boy, right? I mean, he comes in probably playing better than anybody on this list. Sam Burns bores the hell out of me. I've never bet on that guy. Wyndham Clark, we covered the last couple of weeks. I hate that dude now too. So, Siwoo Kim, not a bad play at 2,900. But I'm going to stick with the Jersey boy. Let's go with the favorite. When you get a favorite at plus 1,800, I love it. Clearly, his game is great. Now, will the travel mess this kid up? I don't know. But when you're young,
that's the thing.
I don't think anything messes you up when you're that age. What's he, 24, 25, right?
He's young. He won the Scottish Open 2 weeks ago, then stays over there for the Open Championship. So he's now accustomed to that time, and he has to go to Minnesota, which is talk about losing sleep, losing time. I'm tending to lean towards players that were not in the Open Championship for this one. Someone like Jake Knapp at plus 4,000 would be a good return. He's been playing good golf this year. Again, he didn't have the grind of going overseas. It's easy to get sucked into the Tony Finau at plus 3,500 because he played well at the Open Championship, but how many times has he actually duplicated it? I can't believe Max Homa's plus 4,500. Give me Luke Clanton, top 10 plus 400. I have a gut that he's going to play well. He's a young guy on tour. Very good.
This course, if I'm correct and recall right, I mean, if you bomb the ball, it does give you a huge benefit. And I think a guy that, a sneaky dude, a Cameron Champ at plus 5,000, a guy who's had his ups and downs on the tour, but bombs the ball. He's coming into form probably better than he has in the last 5 years. Not a bad play. Kevin Mitchell, plus 5,500. I believe they call him Big Velvet or Big Cashmere, I believe his name. It's one of the smoothest guys in golf. But a tough one. I mean, this is a tough tournament. And again, don't bet the house on this. You put $10 on a plus 5,500 guy, you're walking away at 550. That's not bad. $10 to invest on 4 days of viewing. That's what we're looking for, right there. This is investing, but it's all for entertainment. When you can put $10 and you can watch a 4-day tournament, well, if they make the cut, that's great. I mean, you put $10 in the slot machine, you're out of there in about 30 seconds. So I like this a lot, and we'll be back in the casinos in the coming weeks, Jeff. I've got another Grateful Dead concert with my wife and some friends in Atlantic City at the Hard Rock. I can't remember which Grateful Dead cover band this is.
I thought you were going to San Francisco. I was going to be like, wait a second, you're going to that show in San Francisco with the Dead and Company? That's insane if you were doing that.
Jeff, we priced it out, and you could get a day ticket for not too much money, but it's in a park. It's in a park full of homeless people and drug addicts. So I'm going to be competing for a piece of grass from some guy that lives there, Jeff. That's something Pez and Picks we don't do. I feel bad for mental illness and homeless and drug addicts, and I'm not saying I don't, but I'm not going to go on their turf, Jeff. Right? I know that's their home field. I don't know. I don't trust that very much, and that's a bad investment. It's slipping my mind, but Hard Rock next weekend. We'll be there and at the Borgata. They're going to be putting this up, and we're going to be doing a big coverage on casino games and the ones with the best odds and best returns. I've got a cheat code in roulette, as they say in French, roulette, Jeff, that we'll be putting back out. We put it last year. But there's a way to make money in roulette. You got to start with some money, but you break the odds a little bit. Last year in Vegas, they chased us out of the Venetian. I was trying to make a video so we could go across the street to MGM. But Borgata, we're probably going to let us. Jersey, the only place you can smoke a cigarette, Jeff, is in Atlantic City Casino. It's fantastic. Fantastic. I never smoke cigarettes. Gambling is more fun with their cigarette smoke around. I don't know why, Jeff. It feels more true to gamble with cigarette smoke. I'm just going to put that out there as a rule.
There you go. There you go. Good stuff, Pez. And just remember, when the Grateful Dead had that initial concert in the park, it was free. But they're charging a lot of money now.
Jeff, you can watch that on YouTube, and the people are rolling around. I don't think they were drinking Miller Lights, Jeff. I think some people were on some other stuff. And I think Goddard, when you're that young, that guy will have 5 Miller Lights on the flight over, pass out, and I think he's going to be fine this week. So plus 1,800.
Yeah, there you go. It's been a good show, man. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the golf, and we'll talk next week. Take it easy.
See you.